Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Clinic Gym Radio. I am your host, Dr. Josh Satterley, and I am joined by essentially two doctors today, Dr. Kevin Christie down in Boca Raton, Florida, and a man I would consider a doctor of marketing, especially for chiropractors, Jon Morrison up in Vancouver, Canada. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. It's a little bit hotter here than I'm sure where John's at, but probably just as hot as where you're at, Josh. But everything's good. We're getting through the summer.
Nice.
Doing well in Vancouver. Still fighting our COVID measures and stuff on the great socialist land of Canada. And pleasure to receive such an honorary degree as being doctor of marketing.
You're an honorary American too, John. Don't worry.
Thank you. Born on the 4th of July. Always had a heart for Americans. Love hanging out with Americans. I probably should be one day. You're right. An honorary American. Thank you, Kevin.
And if you want to be a real American, you move down to Florida, my man.
That's right.
Eventually, right? When you hit 60 or something?
Well, no, I'm just saying with COVID restrictions, Florida is doing its best to not have any. And it sounds like Vancouver is heavy. So you might get the bends.
I just got back from the Florida Chiropractic Association's national meeting, which they claim it's the largest. So I don't know if it's Parker Vegas or them now, but it's huge. And it was well attended. Ton of chiropractors. I would say probably 10% wearing masks. I would venture to guess the vaccination rate of that chiropractic group, but I won't. But it was fun. It was like business as usual. We had a good time, and it was good to connect with everybody.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you guys on today because I know that for those who don't know, Kevin Christie is the brains behind the Modern Chiropractic Marketing Group. And Kevin, how long has that group been going on Facebook?
Yeah, since July of 2016. So we just rolled past our 5 years for that.
Nice.
And it's been great.
That's not a group anymore. That's a movement. Kevin's the leader of a movement.
There you go. It's funny. I'm sure if you go down to that conference, the booths that were there 5 years ago and the booths that are there now, as in what's popular, has certainly changed over the years. And one of the great things about marketing is it keeps you on your toes, right? You can never take a year off and decide, I'm not going to modify my approach or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So just for our listeners, as you've gone through the process the last 5 years of making recommendations based upon your own kind of seeing how your clinic runs and whatnot, what are some of the marketing methods that you used 5 years ago that unfortunately have been retired out to a field?
Yeah, when I strategically named it Modern Chiropractic Marketing because I figured, I always wanted to stay modern. And as long as you have that in your name, people are going to say, okay, they're keeping modern with things. And you do have to change. Now, the tricky part about naming it modern was that I want nothing to do with like TikTok and Snapchat and some of the things that come out. And so sometimes people expect me to be up, like Gary Vee on every social platform, dominating every new one that comes out. And that's just not the case. But I do think we're keeping it modern as far as chiropractic practice goes and really marketing it ethically and effectively. I would say the biggest thing that's changed since 2016 was it was like shooting fish in a barrel with Facebook ads and Facebook marketing. And I still think it's useful. I still spend money in my practice on Facebook advertising, but it's completely different. The days of all you can eat, $27 chiropractic visits and getting, 30 leads and 20 of them becoming new patients. That's kind of gone. I'm sure there's some people still doing it one way or the other, but a little more challenging nowadays with Facebook.
Well, I'm sure there's somebody out there doing a spinal screening this weekend at the shopping mall that now has 4 stores left in it,
And they're in the telephone book.
Yeah.
So I would say that's been the biggest change. There's obviously been a lot of new platforms, but the biggest has been that. And I would say also, 2021, I would say chiropractors are probably doing better on Instagram than Facebook, whereas in 2016, I don't think Instagram had a huge foothold with chiropractors and stuff, but I would say Instagram's doing very well.
It's interesting. I did hear about a modern marketing approach that I think was quite novel. I've never heard of. And this is like 3 years ago. I was teaching at a chiropractic university, and one of my students had said he was trying to get his, you have to get the 30 patient visits or whatever to graduate the clinic.
Yeah.
So he was a good looking guy. So he would go on to Tinder and just match with all these girls, take them out for a coffee, then tell them, yeah, I'm not that interested, but listen, does your back ever hurt? And all of them, yeah, actually. He's like, well, why don't you come in and at least, let me give you a free adjustment or whatever. And he set the record. He got like all 30 of his visits in like less than a month and a half or something, all based on one coffee at a Starbucks and using an app to do it. I was like, this kid's going to go places. Yeah.
Yeah. That's modern. I hope he's not on OnlyFans now.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So a year ago, just like, well, let's say March 2020, right before things kind of shut down. Was there any trend that you thought was kind of taking hold and then ended up not teasing out a trend in marketing, that is?
Yeah, I would say, I think a lot of people thought, as far as like marketing prior to COVID, definitely would be the kind of the Snapchat, TikTok taking over and really doing a lot that say Instagram and Facebook were not doing, right? I would say that's a big one where I think a lot of people was going to be huge, and it hasn't panned out. There's definitely outliers, right? There's definitely people getting new pages from TikTok and stuff, but I think that was a big one for sure.
Interesting. Now, through all your efforts over the last since you've been in practice, has always been education, right? Like workshops and gyms. You were big about having a useful amount of content on your site, like educating people about what it is you do. And my understanding of your approach to Facebook ads has basically been like, you got to create the educational content and then use the Facebook ads or Instagram ads to boost it up, promote it, and get more people seeing something that people are already saying like, hey, I like that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you got to put it in different categories, right? There's ads, which would be your typical, like, okay, here's an image or whatever that's of a person, whatever. There's an ad. Then there's an actual strategy, right? Like, so content marketing strategy is that. And then there's campaigns, and you can run different campaigns that's part of that. And what I've tried to get chiropractors to understand is that content marketing should be the bedrock of your whole marketing. And then from there, you use all the distribution channels to get it out there. And so, like, for instance, in my practice, we've found that Google ads have been much more fruitful for us. So we're putting, it's going to sound like a lot for some, but maybe not a lot for others, but we put about $1,500 a month into a good strategic Google ad. And then with Facebook, we spend about $500 a month, and it's all about video content that's retargeting our email list. So you can funnel your email list into a Facebook audience, and those are people that already know, like, and trust you. And we're just trying to capture their attention and stay top of mind. And we're using Facebook for that. And we are doing some awareness campaign with Facebook as well, trying to get them into that funnel per se. And so, but really with Facebook, we're trying to target our patient list, and we're really doing it with educational content, right? That's the key for what I try to do for my practice and what I try to teach chiropractors.
That's awesome. Yeah, just to put it in perspective, by the way, you said you're spending like $1,500 on Google AdWords. I was just having lunch with a group of attorneys, like 4 attorneys, and one of them, it's a PI law firm. Yeah. They said we had to reduce, this was the greatest sentence ever mumbled by a professional. We had to reduce our billboard advertising budget down to $100,000 this month. Yeah. And I thought, that is awesome, because I always wonder who keeps billboards alive. And thank God in my area for those PI attorneys. By the way, that guy has like 5 billboards across town with no website and no phone number, just the name, just pure branding. And I'm like, oh my God, like it must be nice to be able to waste that much money.
It still works, like maybe.
Yeah. Anyways. Well, John, I don't want to just have you sit there and twiddle your thumbs this whole conversation. So
I love listening to you guys chat. Yeah, it's perfect.
Well, here's what I would love to kind of get a perspective on from you. So Kevin's been in the trenches of chiropractic this whole time. You kind of joined or looked at your chiropractic friends, about 3 or 4 years ago, and said, hey, this is a group I want to work with. And over that time, you've had the luxury of not having to be in a clinic all day long, and then also switching gears and focusing on marketing, right? Like you focus on marketing 100% of your day. So what are some things that you have seen a development over those few years in the sense of how chiropractors should be marketing, or where you see response occurring?
I mean, yeah, I love hanging out with chiropractors. The only thing is I'm always the awkward guy at the chiropractor parties, So
no, there's way more awkward chiropractors than you, buddy. Like, don't ever worry about that. Yeah.
Well, you guys can, cornhole.
There's some dude who's going to show up to that party with a gallon glass jar of alkaline water and sip it as everybody else is just kicking back with a beer. So don't you worry about how weird you are.
That's funny. I just don't know enough about Stuart McGill and Mackenzie to really contribute. I just put the logos on people's websites and stuff. But anyway, so what I've noticed is, when people are talking about, like, I listen to Kevin and I listen to you guys talk about stuff, and I'm just always thinking like, okay, how do we make that easier? How do we put the tools out there? So I basically started with StoryBrand, which is a tool, right? StoryBrand is a tool for creating a clear message. And as a certified guide, that's what kind of got me and got me invited to the parties at first. And then 12 times out of 10, we would finish the StoryBrand messaging and people look at me and say, well, what do I do next? And it's like, well, let's get a napkin and let's write out what it could look like on your website. And I realized, like, a lot of people would be like, I don't even know how do you make a napkin into a website? Like, can you code this napkin? And so I realized we needed to create a tool for StoryBrand websites for chiropractors. So that led me to that. And then as Kevin was talking about content marketing being a huge thing, so it's not just messaging for your homepage, it's actually about a content strategy. We realized we needed to have a website platform that made it easy to have really good blogs that ranked well on social and on Google, and just like looked good and were easy to use. Because if you're dealing with a site that's very cumbersome and challenging to make changes and updates, then you're not going to add content. You could write the best articles, but if you can't publish them, that's a problem. So we really worked on making sure that our blogs were or our platform was friendly for blogging and conditions pages. And
how many of those websites did you look at and go, hey, I didn't know you had a partner. Kevin, who's Joe Smith on your website? And you go, Kevin responded, oh, that dude left 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, they do have
on your website.
They have to be easy to update. And that's, when we got into partnership with Jane App, and how we can connect with their software and make it integrate really well so that your booking software can work with your website. And that was, I think, a big step for a lot of people, that they only had to manage their Jane account, or just at least manage one thing, and then it could sync. I think people like that. And then Kevin came around with another idea, which was he wanted to do courses on his website. And I just was like, okay, how are we going to do this then? Let's make this happen. So I got a chance to talk. I remember the meeting pre-COVID with our developer, just saying, how do we make courses so that people don't have to buy another subscription like Kajabi, which is going to be pretty expensive. And so we just make really cost-effective tools. So that was the challenge we had. And Kevin, maybe you could take over from there. Of why did you propose courses as the next thing for growing your practice and helping other people market their practice?
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of one of Josh's questions earlier too about what has changed since 2016, that was definitely one of them as well, where people wanted lead magnets on their website to get email addresses and names, but the traditional ebook and the downloads of a PDF and things like that just weren't really cutting it anymore. It's just there's an evolution from the end user always, right? So back in 1999 or 2002, you could get 75% open rates on your emails, and people were excited to get their email. Now you're lucky if you get a 25% open rate. And so things change. Let's just say people expect different things, and the value that they expect over time to give their email has increased. So the downloadable PDF or ebook isn't capturing what you really want. I really had a desire for my website to have a strong way of capturing people in there. And I didn't want to just get their email address and not give them anything, or not give them anything of high value. So we thought of the idea of online courses, and we did that. And I had 3 different ones, and it was an interesting way we came about it. One was we had a ton of information on the desk worker through all the stuff we did over the years with corporate wellness. So we just basically looked at what we had and designed a little bit of an outline, a course outline for it, and we had all the content. No sweat. The second one I did was a virtual summit for runners and triathletes in my community, where I interviewed different experts that would pertain to that. And then I took those 8 videos and turned that into repackaged it into an online course for runners and triathletes. And then lastly was we wanted a neck and a low back one, and we didn't really have that content. So then we designed the outline and had to actually create the content for that. And that was where we decided, like, this could be a great, not only a lead magnet on our website for people, but also we can give it to our patients as well. It's just like, if the patient comes in with low back pain, why can't they just take the online course too? It's got some good supplemental material. And so that's kind of how I came about it from a conceptual standpoint. And then just to tie a bow on it, the very end of 2019, we had the CSA retreat down here in South Florida, and Jon was there. And that was when I finally pulled the trigger on converting my website over to your platform, Jon. And that was one of my stipulations, was I needed to have online courses on my website. And I think you started drinking more after I said that.
Yeah, well, it caught my attention because that's what I love to do. Is I love to listen to you guys talk and then think about what we could do. So it was really a good challenge for me to think, how can we provide Kevin with a great tool that's going to be, again, easy to use, simple to manage, and cost effective. And so we just started creating the courses, and we had to bootstrap a little bit. Like, you were definitely the beta version of what is now what I think is a great option for people that are using our platform. Even if they're not, they can just offer courses and done for you courses, because Kevin was generous enough to say, like, I want to help the evidence-based chiropractic community. And then we said, well, you've got all these videos, but they're all HealthFit Chiro branded. So what do we do about that? So I called up my friend Brandon Steele, who said, you guys can use some of our videos instead of seeing Kevin do a bird dog. Maybe you'd want to see, just kidding, Kevin's not doing the bird dogs. But anyways, you can have our Chiro Up content publicly accessible to your people. And so Brandon was able to fill in some of the cracks where when we stripped the HealthFit stuff. Chiro Up came along and said, we'll provide those videos that you need. So it worked out really well, because we knew that if we offer this to the chiropractic community, like, they're going to love it. They're going to be excited about it. And they're going to hopefully be excited about the price, but they're not going to have time to put in the work. And so we wanted to make it as easy as possible, so that if you did buy the course pack, that you could actually just, like, literally go live that day if you wanted. And then we knew that some people would be extra keen, and they would want to just stand in front of the camera, put a little mic lapel on or something, and then just maybe give an intro to that module. And so instead of having Kevin do the intro, they could do the intro, put it on YouTube, and then just upload it to their, we will need just the YouTube, with just a link, we could put the video on your course. So people can film 10 videos and then, put them on for each of the introductions, and then it's done as well. So
it starts out, it's all done. A patient could enter it the second that basically, somebody signs a contract with you. But if somebody wants it to be very brand, or they want their colors, they want their shirts and all that, they can backfill it. But I love the fact that it's already done and it's already got content in there. Like, at least have something to start out with. That's fantastic. Now, just for clarity, Kevin, do you charge people for these courses? Like, if somebody's just stumbling across your website, never having been a patient of yours, do you charge them any money to download this course or get access to this course?
I don't. It's an option, but I don't. I use it more for lead generation. So I do not. Yeah. And then what's cool about it too is if someone signs up for, say, the low back course, we've set it up in our MailChimp to where it zaps into my main chiropractic email list, but then it can get tagged low back course. So then that way they don't get my new patient onboarding sequence email, right? So if Bob comes in as a new patient and gets entered in our email address, then he's going to get the drip campaign of a new patient. But if Mary signs up through the low back course, it goes in a low back tag, and she just gets the dripped campaign of the online course, not the new patient, because she's not a new patient.
Right.
And then she falls into my regular content schedule of emails.
Yeah. I'd be interested too.
Oh, go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
I would just be interested in how far patients make it in, or sorry, prospective patients make it into that course before they go, oh, to hell with it. This guy knows what he's doing. I'll call him. Like, it's like that tip over thing, like they don't make it all the way through the course and then contemplate life. They're like, all right, I didn't think about those two things. All right, I'll call and make an appointment.
Yeah,
I would love to see that number.
We built it with that very purpose of getting the click to book the appointment, because I mean, if you've got back pain, you can self-diagnose, but you need a professional to deal with you to help you, whatever. So there's at the bottom of every module is either advance the next module, like way to go, or book an appointment today, and it goes straight to the booking, whatever. So that we do want new patients. Like, that's the purpose of the course. The lifetime value of a patient is far higher than whatever you would charge for that little course.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things too that you got to realize with this course is we have to take into consideration that anybody could be signing up for it. So we've made it very basic level stuff. You can't give them advanced things or whatever. We also educate them on red flags and stuff like that. So we're trying to be very benign and not give them things that could hurt them. And then also we're not trying to overwhelm them with content either. So it's not this 8-week course of, homework and tests and quizzes and things like that. So very, very concise and effective, but also safe. Nice.
And to this point, do you guys know how many downloads whatever the most common one is, the low back pain one? I mean,
yeah, the low back one is definitely our most common. Last time I checked a couple months ago was we would get anywhere from 25, 30 for that one a month. And then kind of down from there. Neck is next popular, then desk worker, and then the runner triathlete for us.
But I would guess that the runner triathlete one's also it's the smallest number, but the most focused niche. Like, I would love to know the percentage of, let's just say you get 10 people downloading that course, but 9 of them want to become patients because they're like, that speaks to me so tightly.
Yeah. And obviously there's going to be difference too. Like, so what you can do, like, I use my website as the hub of my marketing for sure. And we try to get as much traffic there as possible. But then what you can also do is you could run a Facebook Instagram ad to the course, right? So you could use it as your content to get them in there. And that could be, that could drive. So you might do a big campaign on one of them for a month. So you might see a spike in numbers, or you just let it ride and whoever gets your website comes in. So that number can vary for sure.
The other good thing it probably does, I know, Kevin, you've hired some folks over the last year or two, but people, when they're in that hiring process, like deciding if they want to work with you, they're searching out content as well, because they're trying to see, like, does this person understand me? And so seeing those courses and be like, oh, this guy jives with exactly what I'm saying, or he and I are going to be at odds. That hiring.
That's what content marketing really does, right? Content marketing establishes you as the authority on that particular problem. And as you show that you are competent in that, and we're actually just giving you the competence, right? You can just have it, like, as when you sign up, but you're basically, and you probably would have said the same thing, right? Because it's all really trustworthy content, but they're looking and saying, well, this guy must know what he's talking about. This gal must know what she's talking about. I'm going to trust them for either another problem or for to help me solve this on the bigger picture. So. I think it does great. It is well for saying I'm the expert in this, but because I'm showing it, I have a course on this, right? So that's worth something for your own confidence too, right? It's like, I do know a lot about back pain or neck pain or how to help desk jockeys.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, like, I work with mostly golfers, but golfers always want to send their friends and family and all this. And so, like, I would love to have a course about golf, like golf injuries, but when they're sending that, when they're sending along the information to their husband, wife, whatever, I don't want that person to feel like we don't treat those things. Like, we can obviously treat those. So just having the neck and low back pain, even though, Kevin, I'm going to guess, like, the triathletes and the runners are like a great population to work with, they're certainly not the entirety of your patient population, right? And you need to fill those gaps. Yeah, but you need to fill those gaps. Like, it's like gyms. Like, every gym in the world tell you, like, I want to work purely with baseball pitchers. but 80% of my people are general population because there's just not a lot of baseball pitchers.
Well, and to that point, it's a little bit of a sidebar topic, but I mentioned earlier that we're shooting videos and we're sending those as Facebook ads to our patient list. And those videos are actually condition-based videos where we're picking like, okay, plantar fasciitis, golfer's elbow, these different things that maybe our patient base didn't realize that we treated. And we've gotten a lot of good response from that. And it's like, oh, patients came in 3 times for different neck issues, but had no idea we treated plantar fasciitis until they saw the video. So that's why we're trying to get that awareness as well.
I have a friend who was telling me that he was putting out a condition-based Facebook ad, and one of the comments is from a urgent care PA that he works with very closely, and she said, "I didn't know you treated." I can't remember what it was. "I didn't know you treated shoulder pain," and he's like, "Oh my god." That's the greatest comment ever, right?
Yeah, well, that's what when we started doing these videos 2 months ago, we had a lot of patients come in. It's like, "I didn't know you treated that." And I was like, God, we sucked at getting our message out for a while. Sometimes you fall into your zone of the neck, back, hip, things like headaches and stuff like that. And you forget about the other stuff.
Yeah. So Kevin, did you have these courses up and running before you migrated to Jon's platform?
I did. Yeah. I had to use like a plugin, this whole thing I had to pay for.
Just going to ask that, like how many hours man hours do you think were committed to getting that first one off the bat?
Exactly. Yes. A lot. I had an associate that was able to do some of that, get it into there, but I think we were using LearnDash or it was something that was a plugin that cost a fair amount of money each year. I think I just paid this subscription to it, and it was pretty difficult to put it together for sure. You needed someone with a skill set. So I was doing that. But then obviously when I converted over to Jon's website, that was one of my stipulations, and he was able to build it into so you don't need to add like a certain plugin or anything like that.
The worst is when you find out that the plugin hasn't been working for like the last 3 weeks and it doesn't alert you or anything.
And they get bugs sometimes. Like I've had stuff like that with the other ones. It's always dicey for sure.
So Jon saves the day yet again.
Well,
you're the doctor of marketing, Yeah.
It's
so what
interesting.
is it?
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead. Go, Jon.
Oh, I was just thinking, because this is a conversation, I was wondering, as an outsider from an actual clinician, I wonder how courses could be used as supplementary care in the sense of somebody comes in and they do have back pain and they didn't even know you have a course, but you could say like, actually, we have this course, whether you charge for it or not. I mean, one angle would be, we usually charge $50 for this course, but I want to give you a special link that you can have as part of this. And then they think, wow, I'm getting like $50 worth of value. And you can just watch it tonight. Here's the 5 stretches that I would have recommended for you anyways. Instead of you driving in next appointment, you can have the course or whatever, and then just watch it. Or what happens to me often is my chiropractor will give me some stretches to do or some exercises, and I'll completely forget them by the time I get home. Right, my mind's 1,000 places, or I'm nodding like, oh yeah, I see that stretch, like yeah, that's good, and then I totally forget the exact form. Yeah. Wouldn't it be great to have something they could take with them that they could work on at 8 p.m. once their kids are asleep, and then they could work on it rather than trying to remember what was it that they said again, right? So it's an addition to your care to have a course, and then that's just something for them to take home for their homework.
Interesting, you just said that. I just read some research done about patient communication, and it was a series of clinics that were diagnosing people. It was endocrinologists, and they were specific to people with diabetes, and it was initial visit with diabetes patients. And I think this was done in like 2006, and they said every provider in there was handed a sheet, cover these 5 things, right? These 5 important things: like check your blood sugar every day, avoid these foods, walk 30 minutes. And then a team called the patients 2 hours later, and then again 24 hours later. Okay. 2 hours later, like we think, oh, we're the most important part of their day. And it's like, that person got in their car, they called their partner, they're dealing with their kids, they're going back to work and everything. After just 2 hours of leaving that office, they had forgotten 28% of the information. Yeah. At 24 hours, most patients could recall less than 50%. So if you're seeing somebody like Monday and Friday, they know almost nothing about what you covered on Monday. So when you're saying that, Jon, like that's just better care. Like that's supportive care. If you are treating somebody and you want them to do a specific exercise, you need to remind them. You need to send a text. You need to send an email, something to go like, I know we covered it, but here's that same thing again. And if a course allows you to do that, that's even better.
And that's why I kind of like them customizing it. Like you can have it all done for you, but to get in front of the camera for a little bit would be so good because you can use your own hobby horses, right? Like everyone's got their favorite analogies. Your back is kind of like this, or this stretch is this, and this is why it's good for you. But instead of having to repeat them over and over, you can actually just record it and then send it to them. And then they have it. And then you only had to say it once. You saved yourself a ton of time, and then they can watch it over and over again. And then, like you said, they won't forget it then, right? So I think that it ties in well to what you've been really harping on these days, Josh, which is that communication piece. And how good would it be to get it in the form of a text or an email? And it's just like auto-generated. So you have someone that says like, if somebody comes in for this, I just hit a button and then it drips them this sequence, which is the course.
Right. One thing that we do too, when we're working with our patients on the way out, so after the last visit, they get a request for feedback, and so we wait about an hour after they leave their last visit, send a request for internal feedback, make any comments, and then we ask them for a Google review, which I think that's a very common practice now. But one thing we did on the piggyback on that is one day later, we sent out a little survey, and there are 6 possible things that we do, but they're in one. So like if they're getting treated for low back, it'll show the other 5. If they're getting treated for shoulder, it'll show the other 5. And we just say like, hey, do you have any issues with any of the following? It's low back, neck pain, shoulder pain, hip pain, or foot pain, knee pain, right? And we send that out, and then they select, and then that automatically puts them into a drip sequence based upon whatever they selected. But if you think about it, like that method could be used for if you have additional services. So like Kevin, you have all your sports recovery thing. Like, are you interested in, I don't know what the things are, but cryotherapy, Normatec, blah, 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 blah. And they can get that information. And the most common like response is, thanks for the text. I didn't know you, like foot pain and knee pain probably are the 2 top where they're like, I didn't know you knew. I love the phrasing. There's, I didn't know you treated that. The worst is, I didn't know you knew anything about the knee. That doesn't feel so good, but it's just funny, like how many people do that. And I've thought with the golfers too, like, you could really have some fun. Like, are you interested more in distance or, wedge control, things like that. But
I had a cool, it was Joey Coleman. He spoke at the FCA, and he wrote that book, Never Lose a Customer Again, right?
Yeah.
And so he's one of the keynote speakers this past weekend, and he talked about, it was not a healthcare clinic, but he obviously connected the dots to the chiropractor, but he showed an example of shooting a quick, like 30 to 60 second video that he was like, like almost like a hold your camera up type of thing. He's like, hey, this is Dr. Kevin Christie, great seeing you. So I hope you're feeling okay from the treatment. Make sure that you walk 20 minutes, do your this, that, like just kind of like make it about them, quick video. And, the next day, send that to them either by text or email. And it was one of those touch points that I hadn't heard of. I've heard of the phone call, right? Like call them the next day to see how they're doing type of thing. But imagine if you got a video from your doctor just saying, reiterating those key points like you talked about.
Yep. The person you saw that day in the clinic you saw, and and if they mention, your name, or if you're really slick, your dog's name, right? And hey, I hope your dog's doing well. Like there's no question that they're one-on-one with you. That just blow minds, I'm sure.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't think, even if you're a super busy chiropractor and you got like, let's call it 15 new patients in a week, you could shoot 15 of those quick 30 to 60 second ones. You'd have to obviously carve out the time and make it a priority, but I think it could be a huge customer service opportunity.
Yeah. When I had LASIK surgery, the most impressive thing about that clinic was that they called me at 24 hours. And the most impressive thing to me was that they had called my brother, who was my ride home, 3 hours after my surgery. And they said, hey, hope you got him home okay. Hey, by the way, here's 3 things to look out for. And here's a reason to call us, A, B, C, and D. And when my brother knew that they called me, he's like, man, I don't even need surgery. And I go to that place. Like they're amazing, because he knew I was asleep. Like I was sleeping it off, and they called him and checked in. He said, yeah, it's great. Cause I had so much anxiety about like, what am I supposed to look for? Like you're sleeping. Is that okay? I I think it's okay, and they're like, yeah, let him sleep as long as you can. Just make sure you talk to him when he wakes up. And you forget about all that. I mean, in chiropractic, we don't deal with too much like caregiver stuff, but I have some patients that their spouse or partner is super worried about stuff and wants to know, like, hey, can he or she do this? Can they work? Can they, coach? Can they do all these different things? So those touch points are huge. And I think that the businesses that start migrating that way and do all this like ancillary support are going to be just, it's the only way to differentiate yourself, right?
Yeah,
the methods and tactics change, but it's just provide education and provide that human connection. That's amazing what that does.
And it's a fine line between what is marketing and what is operations. And sometimes there's a little bit of a, intertwining of the two. And so ultimately, you're just trying to provide the best experience, whether that's from education, obviously care, and then customer service. If you can blend those three, then that's where you really have that raving fan base, right?
I don't know if it's attributed to Walt Disney, but he said cleaning is marketing. Cleaning the parks is marketing, and making sure that the trash cans are clean is part of our marketing plan.
Yep.
Yeah. And I haven't checked in on that guy lately, but I think it worked out pretty well for him.
Good old Walt.
Good old Walt. Yeah. So John, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this as we wrap up here. So Kevin, so you can do this two ways. You can decide to have courses, and let me just recap what I heard from Kevin. You get on the list to host an intern from Logan or Parker University. You wait 3 months so they show up. Then you educate them everything you can about chiropractic, and then do the side job of download these different plugins and whatnot, upload a bunch of content, hope you don't go crazy, and that it actually works, or somebody can call you. And what's the process with you, John?
Right. Yeah. We will have Kevin's courses stripped of his branding. And then, as you add your own branding, you could have it ready in a couple of minutes. Actually, I actually filmed a video where I was taking one of our generic ones and made it into somebody's own course. And it literally took less than 20 minutes to do the thing. I would imagine that some people would take a little bit longer. Maybe you don't have a pre-written bio or a picture on your, right away, but that's what we kind of have to do. So we do want to compensate Kevin and his team. So Kevin gets a little bit, and it takes a little bit of our time to build the thing, obviously, for you guys. So there is a cost for it. It's just an upfront cost. I'm going to say that the introductory price, who knows when people are going to be listening to this, but introductory price is just under $400. And then it's going to be $40 a month for your hosting, your site security, for human technical supports. We do want to help you. Like we want to make sure you get somebody that's walking with you through the process. We'll train you through it, and you'll have lifetime access to our knowledge base as well. And so for $40 a month, that's going to be the ongoing price, which we really did try to keep competitive. I mean, if you look at,
no, that's a screaming deal. I don't think you need to justify that. Like that's a screaming deal. And that's based on the Clinic Sites program, right?
Yeah, on our platform. The secret,
for those who don't know or aren't familiar with it, can you talk a little bit about how it integrates with Jane?
Right. Yeah. So this is the thing that people don't know, is that you can actually build your website off of this course. Like if you are in a stage of rebuilding, then you can. It's the same platform. It's just another feature that's engaged. So I wanted to make it so that anybody could have their main marketing site, keep it intact without having to disrupt it all. But it's this Clinic Sites platform, which means it is easy to use DIY system, or you can have our team build it out for you if you don't have the time or expertise to do that. But it integrates with Jane. If you're a Jane client, you put in your Jane link, and then it brings over a whole bunch of stuff, whether it be your service providers, your services, your contact information, your colors, even your logo.
Yep.
And so, Josh, you experienced that a couple months ago with your new clinic. It actually is quite seamless, isn't it? Like it does a lot of the heavy lifting if you have that little Jane link.
Yeah, I love it. And with the courses, your team is making sure that they're running and all the links and buttons work. And
so
like
we're early in the stage, so we're very willing to give extra TLC to people who reach out to us, because we really want to make this work. Whether you're doing a paid thing, so that's going to add a little bit of complexity. Like you're going to have to get up a Stripe account or something to be collecting payment. But if you're just doing lead generation, we actually, Kevin had a very robust MailChimp system with all his different funnels, but we actually have a drip campaign thing that you can do and collect the email addresses all through the platform itself. So that was another thing that you don't have to add external code from MailChimp or Constant Contact or ActiveCampaign, whatever you're using. We can use those. We can integrate with them. But if you don't want to do that, if you don't have that account and don't want to pay for an additional subscription, we can actually collect the emails on the platform, send out emails from the platform, and drip the content that way too. So,
and is that all included in that $40 a month?
All included, yes, sir.
Oh man, for anybody starting up, that's like a screaming deal. I mean, Kevin, I don't know how much you spent on like starting up your original website and stuff, but this like I think we spent like $7,000 on our first website, which was about $8,000 more than I had at the time. So this is incredible for what you're providing.
Well, when you're in Vegas, that's how money is calculated, I hear, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know where that $1,000
He pays in chips. He pays in chips.
Yeah. One more question for you guys. So, or Jon specifically. So let's say that, you have these, you get the course with Kevin's content, and then you're like, listen, I work with gymnasts and I really want to record a course all about, common gymnast injuries. Can you add additional courses, or can you swap out?
Yeah, very easy. I was thinking about your golfer analogy, right? Yeah. Like if I was you, I would probably say like, okay, what's the outcome? What's the problem that's stopping them from achieving that outcome? What's the 8 steps or 5 steps to get them there? And then just write out what the 5 steps would be. You could jump in front of a camera. If you're not camera happy, you don't like that stuff, you could just write it all out. And then, you could make your own course. And you'll probably see, like, if you have it all open, you can see how the courses are made, the modules are delivered. But at the same time, if you do need some guidance, I actually created a course on building a course. So it's called the Get Clear Course Creator. Trying to explain that to my wife was kind of funny. It's like, honey, I need a little time this weekend. I'm building a course. What's the course on? How to do a course. Have you taken a course on that? No, there's no course on how to do a course. We offer a course. So I just kind of ad-libbed it of what I know from StoryBrand and, having a problem with an outcome and then a plan to get there. So I kind of just put it together, but I think it's a great course, and it's only, again, $50 or something. So
awesome.
So if they need help, it's on my old website, getclear.ca.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's share where people can check this out, Jon. Where can they sign up for this if they like, hey, listen, I'm tired of struggling with my website? Right.
So at one point I had to make a decision. Was I a consultant of just chiropractors or whatnot? I had this other client base. So I created a site where I would just put the resources of things that I want to offer for chiropractors, whether paid or free. But that's at clearlychiro.com, clearlychiro.com. So it's just a branch of Get Clear Consulting. But I'm also going to have a landing page. It's going to be very available on the platform itself, clinicsites.co. So there'll be a bunch of ways. I think the best way to do it to avoid complexity right now is just to send the links to you, Josh, and you can advertise it through the show notes for this.
Okay. Sounds good.
So there'll be it will be easy to find. If you go to clearlychiro.com, it'll be right on the homepage there, and they can find a bunch of resources. Again, some free, some paid or whatever. But that's the way to do it.
That's awesome. And Kevin, if people want to, number one, if people are not in the Modern Chiropractic Marketing Facebook group, how can they find that?
Right through Facebook. Just search for that. You can't miss it. We've got about 4,400 members now. And then I have a podcast of the same name, the Modern Chiropractic Marketing Show, if you want to check that out through all the different ways you can listen to a podcast.
Fantastic. And Kevin, do you still offer like one-on-one consulting if somebody's like, I feel like I'm swimming in, I fell off a cruise ship, but I don't know which way is up. I just need to build a plan to get my marketing in line?
Yeah, definitely. I get the one-on-one coaching, and then also the Chiropractic Success Academy, which is a little more streamlined, digital-based coaching as well. So you could, check that out also. But that's modernchiropracticmarketing.com or yourcsacircle.com.
Okay. I remember there was this Far Side cartoon where it was like the veterinarian's guide to horse care in like 1892. And it said like, lame, and the treatment, shoot. And then like, limping, treatment, shoot. Colic, shoot. It was just, everything was shoot. I just picture a lot of your one-on-one coaching is like, all right, let's do this, this, and this. And then you look over the solution, call Jon. You need a clear website. You need it to have content. You need it to integrate with your CRM. Like,
yeah. With the coaching, we dive into a lot of marketing and a lot of business. So it's a fun combination.
Yeah. And I like what you said. Like you can't really separate those two. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so embrace the fact that many of the aspects are one and the same. And I think it'll go smoother. Well, guys, I really appreciate the time today. This has, as always, been great. And Kevin, I know I've interviewed you, I don't know, 3 times, and it would just be interesting. I wonder if people go back and listen to those previous ones, what we were talking about at the time. Although I'd say like the education content has always been the base of every different method. And Jon, I've interviewed you a few times, and I got to say, man, I'm impressed that your product offering to us chiros just keeps getting better and better and better. And I appreciate it. And because it really becomes easier to be a great chiropractor and use the evidence to support it, and don't get drawn into these stupid $27, we throw the world at you and devalue ourselves in the process, marketing attempts, because that ain't helping anybody, I don't think. So yeah.
I just want to say thank you guys for helping me, because I mean I just sit and listen. I sit outside of Parker and we drink and we talk and I just take notes, and you guys have helped me offer these tools. So it's what you do that empowers me to help others. So
awesome. All right. Well, on behalf of Dr. Jon Morrison and Dr. Kevin Christie, this is Dr. Josh Satter saying, go out there, maximize your license, and live the life you dream of. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for checking out these videos. I hope they're useful. We'll cover things like rehab, exercise, business model, progressions, layout, everything else that helps you build a clinic. So if you're interested, you can click here, there, here, or anywhere to get more videos just like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you soon.